elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year, your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to our first edition of UBC News Tonight on this 12th day of June 2025, which also happens to be Budget Reading Day. Welcome back from that budget reading. And before we get into tonight's news bulletin, let's first take a look at the top stories tonight. In our top stories tonight, Museveni affirms Uganda's middle income status according to indicators. Uganda has pledged to strengthen her economic cooperation with China. Besigye drags trial magistrate to Judicial Service Commission. And NUP tightens grip on presentation of valid academic documents by aspirants. Good evening once again and welcome to UBC News Tonight. I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto and my colleague in sign language interpretation, Mohammed Mugalu. And we start off with the first headlining story this evening. The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Masika Kazimoto, has presented the over 72 trillion budget for the next financial year 2025-26. Minister Kazimoto, while delivering the budget speech, pleaded with Ugandans to embrace the opportunities contained in the budget to promote wealth creation. Now, this includes the financing of government interventions, including PDM, Myoga, and the agriculture credit financing. Despite worries, Kazimoto maintains that the public debt is sustainable.
That is where we have the financial estimates for the financial year 2025-2026.
Ugandans can now connect to all borders on tarmac and reach all parts of the country, east, west, south, north, by tarmac or improved mudam roads. The economy has diversified from the traditional 3 C's, which are coffee, cotton, copper, and 3 T's, which are tobacco, tea, and tourism. Madam Speaker, government has invested over shillings 9 trillion in key wealth creation initiatives over the last 10 years. These include Uganda Development Bank, 4.45 trillion, the parish development model, shillings 3.3 trillion by end of financial year 24-25, Myoga, shillings 553 billion, the youth livelihood program, shillings 207.95 billion, the Small Business Recovery Fund, shillings 100 billion, the Agricultural Credit Facility, shillings 495 billion. The size of the economy is projected to expand to shillings 254.2 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 66.1 billion in financial year 25-26. This will translate into a higher GDP per capita of US dollars 1,324 next financial year, compared to US dollars 1,263 GDP estimated for this financial year ending the 30th June this year.
The need to strengthen the oversight over wealth creation funds, notably the parish development model, the youth livelihood, UWEP, SAGE, so that the funds actually reach their intended beneficiaries and attain the desired impact. 2, to strengthen the implementation and oversight of high-impact projects under the NDP4, so that the intended objectives are achieved. These high-impact projects are what we previously referred to in NDP3 as the core projects. 3, to strengthen the commitment control in budget execution by compelling the accounting officers to commit to the actual budgets and work plans as approved. This is important for budget discipline.
Now, President Yoweri Museveni has declared that Uganda is no longer classified among the least developed countries, but has now advanced to the status of a middle-income country. Responding to the budget speech delivered by the Minister of Finance, Masika Kazimoto, President Museveni stated that this progression is clearly reflected in the country's economic indicators, with the economy projected to reach $61.3 billion in the financial year 2024-25.
And the principles would start with a question. Question number 1 was, do the Africans need, deserve, and are they entitled to prosperity like other peoples in the world, or are they not so entitled? That's the question we would ask. Are the Africans entitled, and do they deserve prosperity like all the other people in the world? If the answer is yes, the next question would be, where does prosperity come from? Can prosperity sustainably come from begging? Because you remember the issue of aid. Can you get prosperity through aid? Our answer was no. The least developed countries, we are now a lower middle income country. In 1986, the size of the GDP was $3.9 billion. So you can see the economy has grown more than 20 times from that time. Uganda's economy has taken off. The economic fundamentals, and what are those fundamentals? GDP growth. Is the economy growing or not? Price stability. Are the prices stable or not? Currency stability. Is the currency stable or not? Jobs. Are jobs being created or not? Export earnings. Are the export earnings going up or not? And then finally, FDI, receipts, the foreign direct investment. But when I drove from Busunju to Mitiana, the road was very bad, the Maram road there. And also the other road to the Tarmac road, but that one they are working on it, the Tarmac road. So, and when we were in Bunyangabu, this issue came up. The question is, what are the districts doing with the 1.3 billion shillings you are sending to them? What is happening? I'm now going to send my spies quietly
to check on some of these roads. And once I find the road is not worked on, and yet the government people are there, the cow is there, it's quiet, the diesel is there, the diesels are there, I will go for them.
All right, now we take you back to the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Masika Kazimoto, who this afternoon presented the 72.376 trillion budget for the next financial year 2025-26, where while delivering the speech, he did encourage Ugandans to embrace all opportunities, some of the opportunities like PDM, M-Yoga and the rest.
On the budget day, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, first highlighted some of the areas for improvement in the next financial year.
The need to strengthen the oversight of our wealth creation funds, notably the parish development model, the youth livelihood, UWEP, SAGE, so that the funds actually reach their intended beneficiaries. 2, to strengthen the implementation and oversight of high-impact projects under the NDP4, so that the intended objectives are achieved.
The Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Masika Kazimoto, also gave accountability of the concluding financial year budget, which among others witnessed the private sector growth to shillings 23.3 trillion in March 2025 from shillings 21.9 trillion in June 2024.
In March 2024, Uganda met the criteria for graduation from this category of least developed countries. Despite global uncertainties, the Uganda shilling has been among the few most stable currencies in Africa.
The continued implementation of government interventions, especially in agriculture, industry and services like ICT, has aided the expansion of the size of the economy to shillings 226.3 trillion in financial year 2024-2025 from 203.7 trillion shillings in financial year 2023-2024.
Uganda has maintained its top ranking as one of the best investment destinations in Africa. Foreign direct investments were worth US $3.4 billion in 12 months to March 2025.
In the 72.376 trillion budget, the health sector was boosted with the funding of 5.87 trillion shillings, including the funds for the National Ambulance and Emergency Care System, which was halted in the last financial year.
Drug dispensing and monitoring the attendance of health workers. Strengthened the National Ambulance and Emergency Care System by providing additional ambulances to improve the national emergency response and referral system.
The development of the controversial Ruboa Specialized Hospital has been reported at 68%, as Minister Kazimoto stresses that the training of specialists is ongoing. This hospital has since received over 700 billion shillings of the COFAS fund. The wealth creation programs have maintained funding, especially the PDM, which has been allocated 1.059 trillion shillings, M-Yoga 100 billion, and Grow Project 231.3 billion shillings.
I therefore implore Ugandans to grow more coffee and, most importantly, add value to our coffee before we export it for higher earnings. Madam Speaker, for the year ending March 2025, the Middle East was Uganda's top export destination, followed by the East African Community, Asia, and the European Union.
Another area prioritized is the mineral-based industrial development, including oil and gas, where 875.8 billion will accommodate the construction of the oil refinery and refined products pipeline among others. Space has been allocated to add Uganda Airlines funds to acquire more aircraft, open up more routes for passenger and cargo transportation, and as well, the operationalization of the Kabalega International Airport is due next financial year. These are entailed in the 6.92 trillion budget for the integrated transport and infrastructure services. Minister Kasaija is optimistic that Tororo-Gulu meter gauge railway line will be fully rehabilitated.
Take full advantage of the innumerable opportunities contained in this budget. Innumerable opportunities in this budget.
The revenue collection in the next financial year 2025-2026 is projected at 37.55 trillion shillings, including tax and non-tax revenue. This is amid the public debt, which is projected to hit 116 trillion by end of June 2025. Government says the debt is sustainable and is to remain so in the medium to long term.
The debt has financed investments that support private sector growth by providing requisite infrastructure. Over the last 10 years, the areas which public debt has financed, including integrated transport infrastructure, 29.3%, electricity infrastructure, including power generation plants and transmission lines.
It is on record that Uganda Revenue Authority has never hit the target of revenue collection in the past 5 years. What remains is whether the registered ceiling in the next financial year will be met.
Inflation is expected to remain below the policy target of 5% per annum.
Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Gutabinji, UBC News.
The resource envelope for the financial year 2025-2026 is projected at 72.376 trillion shillings, reflecting an increase to 139 billion shillings, up from 72.137 trillion shillings in the financial year 2024-25. The breakdown is as follows.
Financial year 2025-2026 budget is structured into 5 key financing components as outlined below. Domestic revenues takes a share of Uganda shillings 37.55 trillion. Budget support takes a share of Uganda shillings 2.08 trillion. Domestic financing takes a share of Uganda shillings 11.38 trillion. Domestic debt refinancing takes a share of Uganda shillings 10.03 trillion. Project support takes a share of Uganda shillings 11.33 trillion.
Now, the biggest portion of the budget allocations has gone to security and good governance, which has received 9.9 trillion shillings. And the education and health continue to attract minimal allocations. Now, members of parliament have different reactions to these budget allocations and the target of 37 trillion shillings expected to be collected by URA in revenue. We have more.
Well, I mean, the president makes his point very clearly and very well, because really what matters is market. Now Uganda is taking off. We are beginning to become productive, adding value to our goods. We need markets for this, and in order to achieve that, we will have to reach out beyond our boundary. So that's why we support the idea of African integration.
But we earn now a lot of money from the maize because the Kenyans, as they are known for eating ugali, they are getting all that maize from Uganda. And besides, they say maize from Uganda, posho from Uganda is very sweet. So we need that oneness. We need that oneness for us to be able to expand our market. They are not only picking maize, but they are also picking fruits. For example, all the watermelon, almost now, which is consumed in Kenya, is from Busoga. And they say it is very unique. It is juicy, it is sweet, and it's so organic. They are also picking a lot of other vegetable stuff, and we have also mangoes. Yes, Kenya produces mangoes, but they say our mangoes are more tastier than theirs. So they are taking them to their hotels and the other big restaurants and all that.
We want to encourage Ugandans to eat fish for nutrition. Our regional market, especially Congo, we have very good market in Congo. So for me, our regional market, Ugandan market, domestic consumption of fish and direct exports will help us widen the market for fish.
The total resource envelope for the year 2025-26 is 72.376 trillion shillings, with just over half of it, about 36 trillion shillings, coming from local revenues, a task given to Uganda Revenue Authority. Now, analysts say that this year's budget is not different from those of the past, but also focuses on Vision 2040, together with an overlay of the national development plans.
He's carrying the briefcase that is well renowned, that we all know.
Blaise Okwero highlights how digitalization will make it easy for government to finance this year's budget.
Grow industrial priorities, they're focusing on oil and minerals, and they're also focusing on tourism and ICT. It goes without saying that ICT forms a very strong part of expediting government's progress to achieving any economic development. And we have seen over and again from the president's speech, from the boss of the URA himself, they have emphasized digitization as an agenda to help government propel forward. That aspect alone is sufficient to facilitate us meeting that goal, as several other jurisdictions have utilized digitization to move as quickly as possible.
He further clarified that the new tax approaches are aligned to focus more on collection than enforcement to enable more citizens engage in businesses.
Action of the 3-year tax holiday for businesses that are going to be created after July. We feel this is a very strong hand that government is pulling out to reduce the cost of the businesses on tax compliance and allowing them to see how to gain their footing for the long run. If you look at the excise duty, you find the introduction of the laws there are facilitating local content by reducing the tax rates for people who are getting inputs from Ugandans.
Naiga Penina from Uganda Debt Network cites out tourism as a key driver that can help Uganda reduce its debt burden if harnessed very well.
Because we see the tourism sector has big potential of increasing our revenue. In 2023, we see that the tourism sector was able to raise in terms to revenue $1 billion USDs. If at all that we want to grow the economy tenfold, if at all we diversify on what we have, we copy from what other countries are doing, we shall be able to actually increase that $1 billion USD to $2 billion USDs. So that we see that actually, if at all, when many tourists come into the country, we see that our foreign exchange reserves, they are increasing.
Uganda is a tourist destination, and from the COVID time, we have had very drastic increase in the growth of that market. It's safe to say that in the agenda to reach 2040, emphasis on tourism should be top on the list.
The goal to achieving Vision 2040 can be achieved realistically by strategically investing in areas that increase Uganda's revenue base. Brian Tumwinebyahanga, UBC News.
Meanwhile, 3 other East African Community member states like Rwanda, Tanzania and Kenya also unveiled their national budgets today. The budgets of the East African Community partner states are read on the same day due to an agreed practice within the region aiming for a coordinated economic policy objective. The synchronized presentation allows for broader comparison of their priorities and highlights the collective efforts of the East African Community economic planning. Now, here's a breakdown of the key focus areas shaping their fiscal priorities for the 2025-26 financial year.
The government of the United Republic of Tanzania has today unveiled 5 key priorities for the 2025-2026 National Development Plan, which marks the 5th and the final phase of the 3rd National Development Plan 2021-2022 to 2025-2026. Focus areas in the budget are promoting a competitive and inclusive economy, enhancing industrial production and service delivery, boosting investment and trade, advancing human development, and fostering skills development. Tanzania's budget spending for the next financial year is seen at 56.49 trillion shillings in the fiscal year 2025-2026. To Kenya, amidst protests in the capital Nairobi, the Kenyan Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi tabled a budget statement containing spending plans of at least 4.29 trillion Kenyan shillings. The budget highlighted the Kenyan government's spending priorities for the fiscal year running from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. The Kenyan budget prioritizes boosting revenues to service debt while avoiding tax measures that triggered deadly protests same time last year. The Kenyan economy is projected to grow by 5.3% in the next financial year. And to Rwanda, Rwanda has approved a US $4.8 billion budget for the 2025-2026 financial year, up 21% from the current fiscal year budget. The 7,000 billion Rwandan francs budget aims to support strategic investments, including the Kigali International Airport and the expansion of the national carrier Rwandair. Other priorities include industrialization, boosting agricultural productivity, expanding electricity and clean water access, improving transport, and modernizing education and healthcare. Dennis Igoa for UBC.
Here's your chance to win school fees for your child for a whole year. Just pay school fees using Momo.
Hi, Mengo Senior School. We are here to reward one of our winners that paid school fees with Momo, and they got themselves school fees for a whole year.
The winner is my little sister. We loaded the money on my line. We did a payment. So basically that's the story behind as to why it's me and then mom. It's such a relief for any parent, because you imagine sitting at the back and knowing the child is going to do school for a full year. You're not worried about anything whatsoever. So I'm excited. Thank you, MTN.
This is continuous, so please, I call upon everyone to continue paying school fees with Momo. Dial *165 *80 hash and pay school fees with Momo and stand a chance to win school fees for a whole year.
I got to learn about the Powerball through the website www.nationallottery.go.ug. Played Powerball tickets worth 5,000, used an option of Quick Pick, and that's how I was able to be the lucky one to win 35 million. I checked my tickets online and I found out that I had winning numbers. The feeling was incredible and full of excitement. I would advise everyone who is 18 and above that whatever you're seeing here exemplifies reality. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Uganda National Lottery for bringing us this opportunity to win millions.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win.
Are you a woman with a small-scale business with a dream of growing it to another level? The GROW Project is here to support you in realizing your dream.
The GROW Project is a government initiative implemented by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development and Private Sector Foundation Uganda with support from the World Bank.
We support women-owned businesses across the country to gain hands-on and business management skills through training within your location, business financing through grants and affordable loans, and infrastructure in your area of operation to enable you to increase your productivity.
If you have a business that makes sales of up to 800,000 Uganda shillings per month, the GROW Project has the tools and resources to help you succeed. For more information, contact your district or city GROW focal person or call our toll-free line on 0800 307 777 to learn more about how you can benefit from the GROW Project's services.
The GROW Project, empowering women economically, transforming communities.
Did you know that the first C-section operation was done in
Uganda, and now in every corner, from hair dryers, banana fiber extensions, a cow tail shoe brush, a stick computers, and many more. This June, the spotlight is on you. The National Science Week 2025 is here from the 15th to 20th June 2025 at Kololo Independence Ground. Entrance is free to all. Made in Uganda. Innovation to market. This message is brought to you by Science, Technology and Innovation Secretariat.
Welcome back from that break. We're glad you're still with us here in UBC News Tonight. Now, in more news, President Lauryn Masika Kazimoto has commended the Faith of Unity for promoting cooperation and development among its members. Speaking at the 96th birthday celebrations of the Faith's leader, Rwenzori Masika in Kagadi district, Museveni praised the Faith's emphasis on unity and hard work.
The residents of Besigye in Mohororo, Kagadi district at around 4 p.m. where he attended a private meeting. After the meeting, the president proceeded to commission the newly constructed block at Obushobozi School and later was warmly welcomed by a large crowds at the Mohororo Stadium. While addressing the believers, President Museveni noted that his government guarantees freedom of worship, allowing individuals to practice their faith without discrimination. He thanked the Faith of Unity for teaching its followers to work together and develop themselves. Museveni also urged the Faith's members to preserve African heritage and values which he believes are worth protecting.
So ebirungi tubulizemu ntukwagenda lusembo okurongora abanyarwanda bakwiye tukurongora izire kumurora yando abaye tukurongora nendo ngwarano. So that one is also very good.
Rwenzori Masika, the leader of the Faith of Unity, briefed the president on the faith's activities and spiritual healings.
Omunganda n'amahanga esitani imbere ya yeserekeri hati yone hoireho hati tugo ekigambo ekiro nuko kugonzangana abantu bagonzangane tubebamu tuganyirangane okwakana kwero kimwe musona.
Besigye and other leaders in this faith asked President Museveni to allow this religion to be taught in schools and gazette this day as a public holiday.
Orubuga runo orukuru kapie healing city rumanyirirwe kandi tongozebwe ogo kiri kimu habusinguzi hamwe enkurakurana ihanga lya Uganda.
Busabo preaching kintu kiri teaching ogo mwegesa noyega yini wogwira mu kiwabo korabo simi nawe cyo wetu president webale kwija nawe cyo nimbero kusima.
Members of Parliament from Bunyoro and other regions praised the Faith of Unity for the tremendous work which have changed the mindset of many Ugandans through working together, hence promoting development and unity.
You could see unity in diversity. People are many from different tribes, from different religions, but this faith unites everyone. And
apart compared to other fights, and his emphasis on unity, of course, is in sync with what the religion stands for. Unity, because Museveni and his group fought against division
in terms of faiths and all that.
Yes. Happy birthday. I want to wish him a happy birthday. And I want to thank so much His Excellency, the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, our chairperson of NRM, and for supporting a group of religious people like this.
Later, the president was presented with gifts, including cows and posters, in appreciation for maintaining peace in the country. Story compiled by Joseph Mwingo for UBC News.
The government of Uganda has pledged to strengthen her economic cooperation with the People's Republic of China. The Prime Minister of Uganda, Robina Nabanja, who is currently attending the 4th China-Africa Economic Trade Expo in the city of Changsha, says Uganda is looking forward to tap investments from China in the areas of trade, industrial cooperation, infrastructure development, health and youth innovations, green development, and security.
The Prime Minister of Uganda, Robina Nabanja, arrived in China, and she was treated to a full honor of a motorcade like that of the head of state. Prime Minister is accompanied by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, General Jejo Dong, Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa, Minister for Trade, Francis Mwebesa, and State Minister for Works in charge of roads, Musa Ichweru, and other senior government officials. She is in Changsha, a renowned city of innovation in technology, in China, to represent Uganda at the 4th China-Africa Economic Trade Expo. Speaking to leaders from the African continent and the world, Nabanja highlighted the investment areas Uganda is interested in to tap from China.
Uganda, particularly, welcomes initiatives in trade, industrial cooperation, infrastructure development, health, youth, innovation, green development and security, all critical pillars for growth and development. We reaffirm our commitment turning these strategic priorities into real impactful outcomes.
The Prime Minister informed the prospective investors that Uganda has created a conducive environment that allows foreign direct investments to thrive in Uganda, and urged fellow African leaders to deepen their economic partnership with China.
Our policies are designed to create a conducive environment for foreign direct investment, trade facilitation, and skills development, particularly for our youth population. To my fellow African leaders and colleagues, let us deepen intra-Africa collaboration while enhancing our strategic partnership with China. Let us speak with one voice and work towards a more coordinated and impactful engagement with our China counterparts.
Later, the Prime Minister was ushered in for the expo, where several Chinese companies displayed their technology advancements. Ugandans too joined the rest of the countries in Africa to showcase their potential, especially in agriculture, like coffee, and the tourism sector.
Gorilla coffee. So Mozambique coffee. Yes. Ugandan coffee.
Now, in more news this evening, women Muslim lawyers want the Constitutional Court to compel Parliament to enact a law that operationalizes the establishment and operation of Qadi courts in the country as provided for under Article 129 of the Constitution. Now, meanwhile, Nakawa Magistrates Court has set 13th July 2025 for further mention of the aggravated robbery case against 4 police officers attached to Chireka Police Flying Squad, accused of robbing a civilian of gold worth $105,000 at gunpoint.
Justices of the Constitutional Court have indicated to deliver their ruling on notice in the constitutional petition filed by Muslim lawyers who are seeking court orders to compel Parliament to enact a law to operationalize Catholic courts in Uganda. This followed submissions from both parties in this petition. Muslim lawyers argue that the establishment of Catholic courts will help to address the imbalances created by history, tradition and customs.
If a Muslim woman reports her husband, the court can only sit if the husband is cooperative to come and attend the proceedings.
They also argue that they see no valid reason why Catholic courts shouldn't be embraced and provided for under Article 129 1D of the Constitution of Uganda.
And we told them the law they are talking about is not the law implemented under Article 129 1D. It does not talk about the formal setup of the Catholic courts.
However, the Attorney General's office objected to their prayers, arguing that the existing court system is sufficient to end all the disputes, including those involving women and Muslims. The Attorney General further stated that the Sharia courts under the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, which operate within the law, are competent to address disputes raised by Muslim women. In another development for police officers, Besigye James Chuguya, Owana Simon, Mulangila Francis Abdu, and Mande Tubejuka, who are accused of robbing a civilian of gold worth $100,000 and cash of $1,000 at gunpoint, reappeared at Nakawa Chief Magistrate's Court for mention of their case. Appearing before Magistrate Frank Namanya, prosecution informed court that investigations are still ongoing. Magistrate Frank Namanya adjourned their case to 30th July 2025 for further mention, and the accused were further remanded. Meanwhile, Segirinya Kraisha, a mechanic from Kiseka Market, appeared before the Standards, Utilities and Wildlife Magistrates Court before Magistrate Gladys Kamasanyo. He changed his plea of guilty to not guilty on charges of damaging and removing telecommunication masts, criminal trespass and theft. Segling had earlier pleaded guilty of being at the scene and possessing equipment including water pump, generator fuel, engine, temperature sensor, air cleaner, among others.
And if he's found guilty, we shall pray to court that they give him a deterrent sentence.
Prosecution asked the court for more time to present witnesses, and Magistrate Gladys Kamasanyo set 23rd June 2025 and directed the prosecution to make disclosures to the accused.
When the generators are put down and the cable is stolen, the tower will go off. So people will not be able to make calls.
The alleged offences were committed on 12th May 2025 at Kigowa Village, Namakonkome site, Matugga Kasangati Town Council in Wakiso District. In a separate case, Chiwewa Ronald, also known as Wagon Selector, has been charged with operating an illegal radio station, Crest FM 92.0, in Chotera District. He pleaded guilty to the alleged offences.
If you see any of them operating an illegal radio or participating in vandalism, please tell them to stop before the law catches up with them.
Seized equipments include a mixer, CPU, amplifier, microphones, headsets, and a transmitter. Court has set 23rd June 2025 for the hearing of the case and for the prosecution to present evidence and exhibits to court. Both the accused have been... Mary Namukose, UBC News.
Retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye and Haj Obed Lutali have dragged her worship, Christine Nantege, to the Judiciary Service Commission, accusing her of being biased, abuse of judicial oath, and incompetence in the way she handled the whole trial. Now, in an application that they filed before the Judicial Service Commission, the accused want the Commission to take a disciplinary action and investigate in regards to her conduct and how she handled the trial.
Last month, Nakawa Chief Magistrate Christine Nantege committed retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye, Haj Obed Lutale, and Captain Oraru Dennis to the International War Crimes Division Court for trial on offences of treason and misprision of treason in the absence of their legal team. with a pending application by the prosecution to extract evidence from the accused's phone, an application the accused's legal team had earlier objected. Court resumed today to determine the way forward of this application.
It looks like there is no such application in the High Court, and as such we pray to have this matter fixed for hearing.
However, the prosecution prayers were objected to by the defense legal team.
You have already forwarded the file to High Court. Whatever evidence they are going to gather subsequent to the committee, to what effect, is for what purpose?
Following their objection to the prosecution prayers, retired Count Dr. Besigye and Haji Obedi Lutale filed an application before the Judicial Service Commission regarding the conduct of Magistrate Christine Nantege in handling the trial. In the 3-page application, the accused alleged that Nantege has been biased, incompetent, and has failed to maintain order and decorum throughout the trial.
We have indicated to her that after committee, she has exhausted her mandate. She has no jurisdiction whatsoever. She has no residual powers to conduct any business concerning Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale.
The accused further claimed that the trial magistrate failed to follow the binding legal procedures, including committing them to High Court without any legal representation.
What the magistrate ought to have done within the parameters of the law was either to adjourn the matter to allow the accused persons to get another lawyer. The state is duty bound to provide one at their expense, rather actually at the expense of the state.
They also contend that the trial magistrate failed to adhere to Article 23(7), which provides for the mandatory release of an accused person on bail after 6 months without trial.
She has even dismally failed to pronounce herself on just a simple matter of computing time, computing the period the accused persons have been on remand.
Basing on these grounds, the accused asked Magistrate Christine Nantege to recuse herself from this case, arguing that she's likely to render justice impartially.
So to purport to come up with that application is abuse of the judicial oath. Whether she has convened or not, at least now she knows that there is a matter against her before the Judicial Service Commission.
Magistrate Christine Nantege, after listening to the defense's plea, set 26 June 2025 to deliver her ruling over the raised concerns. Retired Count Dr. Besigye, Haji Obedi Lutale and Captain Oraru Dennis are facing charges of treason and misprision of treason, offences the prosecution alleges that were committed in Uganda, Kenya and Greece, Switzerland. Deborah Namamonde, Viola Nansuga.
Here's your chance to win school fees for your child for a whole year. Just pay school fees using Momo.
Hi, Mengo Senior School. We are here to reward one of our winners that paid school fees with Momo, and they got themselves school fees for a whole year.
The winner is my little sister. We loaded the money on my line. We did a payment. So basically that's the story behind as to why it's me and then mom. It's such a relief for any parent, because you imagine sitting at the back and knowing the child is going to do school for a full year. You're not worried about anything whatsoever. So I'm excited. Thank you, MTN.
This is continuous, so please, I call upon everyone to continue paying school fees with Momo. Dial *165 *80 hash and pay school fees with Momo and stand a chance to win school fees for a whole year.
Uniquely ours. Explore Uganda. Brought to you by
Welcome back, and now into business. Uganda's SoftNet Technologies Limited has unveiled AHIVA, an artificial intelligence-driven customer contact solution set to transform how businesses engage customers, cut churn rates, and stay ahead in the digital race. Now, speaking at the launch in Kampala, the CEO of SoftNet Technologies Limited, Nuru Yakub Othman, emphasized the growing need for businesses to prioritize customer satisfaction.
Unlike traditional tools, AHIVA tracks customer engagement and flags drops in contact or changes in buying behavior.
The system, you allocate agents. These agents, when they sit in front of them on a tablet or a computer, so they have a single interface that, and they will have their headsets. So if a client is reaching through a call, they will receive that call through their headsets. But if a client is reaching through, say, WhatsApp or Telegram, then the system has a connector that has already been linked to those channels, so the message can come in and be distributed to an available agent, and their initial questions can be responded to through artificial intelligence, but whenever there is a need to interact with a human agent, then the messages will be forwarded to that agent, and the agent will respond and act on them.
AHIVA offers flexible, affordable customer management for small, medium enterprises.
The system itself is very secure. It has all the latest security features inbuilt. And but the people also, each organization has to make sure that people are vetted, because the system can only protect so far. But if the information is with somebody in his head or noted somewhere else, then now the people also have a role to play, meaning they have to be recruited, responsible, vetted, and the processes must be put in place to ensure that the client information is protected.
As Uganda's ICT sector grows, there remains a critical need for stronger policy frameworks.
Biggest challenge is the money. We also have a challenge of mentality. We as humans, or as I'm going to say, we want to interact with people. Yes, so every time you tell him the system is doing it, he's a bit reluctant because he doesn't have that control. Yes, but yes, that is changing. I think we are doing a lot of great work in the mentality change, which also I think is our biggest market.
With AHIVA, Uganda Software Technologies positions itself as a leader in the digital transformation journey, offering businesses the tools to not only attract but retain their most valuable asset, the customer. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
A two-day conference at 4 Points by Sheraton, Kampala is turning up the heat, not for hotel food, but for Africa's organic trade. The goal, open up regional markets and boost trade of organic products across East Africa and beyond. It's brought together heavyweights from regional blocs to private sector players, all charting the future of Africa's organic scene.
Demand for organic produce sprouting fast, African agriculture leaders are plotting how to cut trade red tape and grow cross-border markets. The Kampala meetup is focused on sensing standards, killing trade barriers, and turning Africa into an organic export giant.
The absence of our own certification system makes it possible for products to come into Africa freely, without any restraint. But for our own product to go into any of the world market, we go through very stringent certification systems.
From East African Community and ECOWAS to SEDAC and African Continental Free Trade Area, plus policymakers and market movers, everyone's in the room.
So all these developments suggest that there is an important momentum to boost organic value chains and organic certification within the EIC and economic blocks. However, there is challenges remain. to leverage the full potential of organic value chains. And this is what we are going to discuss here today.
Dr. Namuoza, CEO of Nogamo and head of the African Organic Network, says Africa's got the goods, just needs the gears to move.
We want to explore alternatives. We want to explore ways and means to add value to our vast raw materials so that we can increase the value and unblock the market for organic products.
Uganda's Alex Wakuba, Commissioner for Crop Production, is calling for strong policies to help farmers cash in on the organic boom.
We are here to try and identify approaches to scale out the trade in the organic agriculture products. Why? It's because the potential is huge. The potential for organic agriculture in the region, on the continent, and even globally is huge.
And from the East African Secretariat, Stella Apollot is pushing for a unified standard to keep trade flowing smoothly.
We need to build the capacity of the farmers. So because inspection is one of the requirements, we need to do so that they do self-regulation. So we are looking at a number of initiatives to see how we can reduce the cost. Because when you look at the benefits, the related cost is nothing.
The conference is expected to deliver a clear roadmap, stronger trade, richer farms, and Africa on the organic world map.
All right, and now into the sports scene. Over 6,000 runners are expected to participate in the 4th edition of the Tusker Light Mount Rwenzori Marathon in Kasese in August. Now, the Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Martin Mugara Bahinduka, graced the official launch of the marathon with key focus on talent identification and nurturing, tourism promotion and climate change awareness.
During a press conference held in Kampala to officially launch the 4th edition of the Tusker Light Rwenzori Marathon, Amos Wekesa, the CEO of Equator Hikes, revealed that so far about 6,000 runners are expected to grace the marathon from 50 countries.
Every time any of you has seen us on Twitter saying we're in Cape Town marketing, it means we are using not less than 60 million shillings. If you see us in Boston, we're not using less than 100 million shillings. Everywhere we have gone is over 50 million shillings. These are efforts of private sector. Now, our biggest worry is the political class. We're going into politics season. We want to make sure and ask you to make sure that you, the politicians, don't spoil the efforts us, the private sector, are putting in to grow the country. People are coming from 50 countries. We want assurance from government. You, the politicians, should not stand in between us, whether it's opposition or government.
We just leave a commitment from Tusker Light. We're really committed to this. We're in from the get-go, and I can commit that this is something that Tusker Light will keep committed with and ensure that this grows even bigger and better.
The Tusker Light Mount Rwenzori Marathon has over the years driven tourism growth to the Rwenzori region from the time of its inception.
As tourism, I think for us we are here by default because this is a Tusker Light Mount Rwenzori Marathon. I mean, when Amos is in Cape Town, when he's in New York, wherever you are, the moment he's talking Mount Rwenzori, he's doing my job. He's marketing Uganda for us. So we don't take that lightly.
According to Wekesa, Kenyans are leading the registration list with about 2,000 runners expected from Kenya only.
Uganda Airlines yesterday called me and said, man, the amount of people booking from Kenya on Uganda Airlines who are coming for Rwenzori Marathon is actually shocking, which is a very good thing. We're expecting close to 2,000 Kenyans in Kasese.
This year's edition of the Tusker Light Mount Rwenzori Marathon will take place on 23rd August 2025 with the aim of boosting tourism, identifying talents and creating awareness to climate change. Marion Awori reporting for UBC.
Thank you, Mario Nawori. Now, the allocation of government resources and the operational strategies of various agencies have taken center stage at the Kololo Independence Ground. Now, in a notable shift from previous years, the sports sector has seen a significant increase in its budget allocation, a move widely regarded as a step into the right direction.
Following Uganda's successful joint bid with Kenya and Tanzania to host the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON, an increase in government funding for sports was widely anticipated. A total of Uganda shillings 496 billion has been earmarked for the construction of Hoima and Akibwa Stadium, with the overall project estimated to cost 1.34 trillion upon completion. The Commission
with the National Development Plan 4, one of the priority areas is sports infrastructure development. And you could see that under the MTF of government has put close to 1.3 trillion from this recurrent financial year and the next 2 financial years, purposely to ensure that we get our stadiums, Hoima City Stadium ready and Akibwa Olympic Stadium ready. I can also confidently say that Akibwa Olympic Stadium development is in progress. All the money government had pledged to give in the recurrent period, 100 billion has been provided. We expect nothing else but progress and the work in preparation for our 20 months period.
Commissioning of the High Altitude Training Center in Kapchora and the ongoing renovation of Nambole Stadium are among the sports infrastructure projects that the government is proud to showcase. In addition, the government has allocated 2.2 trillion in direct support towards the development of roads, ICT infrastructure, AFCON facilities, and security enhancement in key tourism zones.
Speed is excellent. I think this is a signature project for our country, Uganda, to be used as an example for very many other projects in not only sports infrastructure but even elsewhere. Projects can be done, and what is even amusing is that government has fully paid the money that is required to finish this infrastructure.
Among the sports federations, the Federation of Uganda Football Association FUFA remains the biggest beneficiary of the sports budget. Notably, 7 billion has been dedicated specifically to the advancement of women's football in the country. Uganda is rich in sporting talent. In previous years, progress was hindered by inadequate infrastructure, an issue the current financial year aims to address. Ngabo Amon, reporting for UBC TV.
And with that, UBC News Tonight has come to an end. To join us for our second edition at 10 o'clock, I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto and my colleague in sign language interpretation, Mohammed Mugalu. We will join you at 10.